Hello, this is RJ Wellington. Giving continuity to the Indigos Manifesto series, in this video we will touch on a very deep and probably the most enigmatic of metaphysical concepts. It is the idea, the theory, or as we like to call it, the illusion of time. And what is time? Why do metaphysicists and even some renowned physicists insist that time, as we know it, is an illusion, that it does not exist? And if it is an illusion, how can we use this illusion in our favor? Can we bend the time? Can we travel back and forward in time? Can we stop the aging process or even rejuvenate by manipulating the illusory concept of time? Yes, we can. If you truly grasp what will be discussed here in a way that you probably has never seen or heard before, there is a great possibility that your life will never be the same again. Why? Because this secret is the master metaphysical key to fourth and fifth dimensional living. All awakened, ascended, or enlightened beings have mastered time in one way or another. That is something that we also teach in transformation dynamics. Without this teaching, without this knowledge, you are far from knowing and living what I call true metaphysics. Yes, that's how important it is. So buckle up your seatbelts, because from now on, the ride will take you very deep into the twilight zone, and Kansas is definitely going bye-bye. The understanding of what is coming in this video, that eureka moment as you never had before, that great excitement, and your intuitive feeling that this is it, I've got the secret, I'm back home, is what will tell you if you are an indigo or not. And before we proceed, I have to remind you that I'm talking from a metaphysical point of view, experience and experimentation. We in no way try to convince you that these concepts are from traditional science or quantum physics. I teach metaphysics, with no obligation, no ties, and no desire to please the traditional scientific mind. I may make comparisons or mention quantum physics, but I'm in no way a physicist. Our science philosophy, called metaphysics, is an independent branch of study and exploration. To me, it is a science, but it is not the traditional matrix-based science as you know it today. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the time we think we know, what we have taken for granted, what has dominated, limited, and enslaved us our whole lives. The so-called chronological time, or linear time, which is a construct in the matrix, as we have seen in a previous video. It is a construct in the matrix level of the so-called natural laws. However, it is still a construct, no matter how real it appears to be. And what is time? What is it, really? Well, time is something we made up, period. Yes, we humans invented time measurement devices called clocks and calendars. What these devices do is just to measure subjective units that we have created for our own convenience, based on natural cycles, to give us a focal point in three-dimensional reality. Time and space are constructs that operate only in three-dimensional reality, by the way. Some scientists propose that even the laws of physics are independent of time and space as we know it. So, back to our convenient creation. Why is 1 minute, for example, composed of 60 seconds? Why is 1 day composed of 24 hours, a week of 7 days, a year of 52 or 54 weeks, and so on? Just because we have agreed on those measurements. We made it up for our convenience. And it is indeed a very convenient tool if you need to schedule a business meeting or a date with a loved one. That's it. It is convenient as a point of reference in the so-called reality that we are perceiving and operating from. I know that 1 day is based on the movement of the Earth around the Sun, as well as 1 year. But what if we measure these cycles in a different way? Free your mind, please. In reality, 1 day is not even 24 hours. Did you know that? It equals 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds. Where did those extra 4 minutes go? Nowhere, because they don't really exist. And what if we had originally agreed that 1 week has to be composed of 10 days instead of 7? What if we had originally agreed that 1 year was composed of 10 months instead of 12? If 1 hour had 75 minutes instead of 60? Did you ever stop to think about it? Probably not. We take time for granted, as if it was a constant law throughout the universe. But it isn't. Do you think time is the same in other galaxies or other realities? We are kind of enslaved by time. However, nature and the universe are not. Nature does not work on a linear way, not at all. Nature works on a cyclical way. And everything else in the universe works on a cyclical way, including your body. By cyclical, I mean that a day is perceived as being composed of a sunrise, the sun traveling through a specific path, and a sunset. Then comes what we call a night, with the moon also journeying in our perception from one point to another. Then everything repeats over again in the so-called next day. But is it really a next day? No, not to nature. It is just the repetition of a cycle, actually a new moment of now. There is no difference between yesterday, today, and tomorrow in a natural cycle of nows repeating over and over again. As humans, we are very good at allowing our own creations to control us, to have power over us, to define who we are. This is the case with the time as we know it. And one of the biggest mistakes we do is to allow time to control our biology and our states of consciousness. Again, and pay close attention to this. One of the biggest mistakes we do is to allow time to control our biology and our states of consciousness. It usually goes like this. You may say, I am this way because of what happened to me in the past. Or, I look like this because I am so many years old, right? And then we use these points of reference to project those limitations into the so-called future, which does not exist until we perceive it in the next now. These are examples of what in another video of mine I call sourcing from what is. These are examples of being trapped by the matrix rules or beliefs that are so ingrained that we take them as absolute truths, as knowingness. Sure, you know that as the illusory time passes, time that just exists in your consciousness, your body will degrade, and one day it will give away. Then you will have the experience of dying. Sure, You know that events in the past have power over your psychology, over your emotions and reactions in the present, and will continue into the future if you don't go through years of psychotherapy or other elaborated spiritual processes. Let us expand on this. How does time control our biology? Just look at a picture of you 5, 10 or 20 years ago. Are you looking exactly the same or even younger? I doubt it. You can't, because you are sure that your path is towards entropy or the breakdown of your physical system, correct? Do you really think that you will ever reach rejuvenation, body modification, and even immortality by believing in these things? I will tell you, it does not matter how healthy you eat, how many expensive creams you put in your face, or how much plastic surgery, exercise, meditation, or praying you do. No, if you have core beliefs or absolute knowing that enslave you to time, you know what your destiny will be. Just look at a nursing home. And how does time control our states of consciousness? Do you believe that we are limited by past traumas, fears, and experiences? Do you believe in karma? Do you believe that your present and future are products of your past experiences? Have you noticed so far that all that we mention originates from what you supposedly think you know to be facts, which actually originates from strong, deeply ingrained beliefs? And now comes the moment when some of you will say, Wellington, you have gone totally insane. This is happening throughout the history of mankind. Time passes for everyone. People age and die, even gurus and masters. Nobody can deny it. Scientists, doctors, and even some so-called spiritual teachers say that this is how things are. Psychologists and psychiatrists have always known that we have deeply buried traumas. Some spiritual teachers say that we have karma to work through. This is life as it is. Well, if you are sourcing from the matrix, from what is, from the limited viewpoint of the lower human consciousness, this is true in your personal reality, sure, because all truths are as valid as any other. That is how infinity works, and the collective social consciousness has agreed with these constructs, what you call your truths. But in reality, they are not your truths, but just beliefs that you have decided to agree with and turn into knowingness. So, based on that frame of mind, that prison of consciousness, you may say, who am I to challenge millennia of scientific evidence and even some spiritual teachings? I don't want to be called insane or exchange one illusion for another. And that is the differential between the Indigos and those who are still in the illusion that they have to somehow evolve and grow into something else in a distant future. A true Indigo looks at all possibilities that exist out and beyond of the matrix. He or she thinks at the level of infinite consciousness, infinite possibilities and probabilities, and explores it. And we, the Indigos, are the ones who change paradigms, the ones who expand into infinity to perceive the reality we think would be more in alignment with our true desires and excitement, with the will of God, which is our will, instead of being trapped by a collective consciousness. In a previous video, I show you what the matrix is, and I said it is not easy to overcome this higher level, which is the level of the so-called natural laws, which includes physics itself. But I have to say that it might not be easy if you insist to keep on proving to yourself that the matrix is right, because everyone experiences its limitations. Now, Pay attention to what comes next. A deep metaphysical puzzle. Does everyone experience limitations and the effects of time because it is the only reality there is? Or because you have agreed to perceive reality through this limitation? Is it possible that, in your reality, you are experiencing everyone to age and die just because that is your higher or unquestionable expectation? If you, the master consciousness of your personal reality, decides that this is how things are, you are just reinforcing a limiting version of reality out of infinite possibilities. You are creating, or more accurately, focusing on a probable reality in which these things are true, in which everyone has to experience what you expect to be congruent with your version of reality. Yes, that is how powerful you are. It is amazing, isn't it? Everyone else has to agree with your reality for the game to go on. So, in reality, what is this thing called time? And what is our true relationship to it outside of the matrix? Let's first look at the following symbol. This is a symbol of infinity. And what is the format of this symbol? Notice that it does not go from point A to point B. It is not a straight line. No, the symbol of infinity, used by science and mathematics, is representative of, guess what? A psychical movement. Just pay attention to it. Look at this other example with some arrows to give you an idea of the eternal cyclical movement we call time. So keep this cyclical movement in mind. You see that there is not a beginning and an end, as in a straight line, but it is rotating through a center, like in a loop. And where or what would be this center? The center of this loop. Are you ready? It is said in Hermetic teachings that that which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. This is a literal translation from the Latin version. What is the one thing this ancient code refers to? It is all there is, or infinite consciousness, including your individual focus of consciousness. The below is you, as a focus point of infinite consciousness. The above is infinite consciousness in all its expressions throughout eternity. Infinity's loop passes through a center, a focal point of consciousness, at the macrocosmic level. This center of consciousness is all there is, or what you may call God. At the microcosmic, it is your individualized unit of consciousness. Remember that you are made in the image and likeness of God. In a holographic model, each part contains the whole. Yes, even you contain the whole. Therefore, this cyclical pattern that is eternally happening for all that is, or the above, is also happening in your personal reality dream, the below. This cyclical motion is eternal and never ends. We are living in an eternal time loop. However, this loop contains infinite possibilities and probabilities. It contains all your lives, with all of their possibilities and probabilities, past, present, and future. Everything is already created. All you are doing is choosing it. That is the very nature of the subatomic world, the basis of your so-called physical reality, where an electron, the building block of what we call reality, is more like a cloud of potentials, without a specific position. having the possibility of popping up anywhere. In the cloud model of physics, there are areas where an electron is likely to be found when observed or chosen by your consciousness. But it is theoretically possible for the electron to be located anywhere, including inside the atomic nucleus. As in the atomic model, the concepts of past, present, and future are all possibilities and probabilities happening simultaneously in this eternal cyclical motion. Now, look at the chart we use in transformation dynamics. Here you see the symbol of infinity with the focal point at the very center of it. That center, that focal point, represents your now focus of consciousness, the only place you have always been. You spend all of your life, all of eternity for that matter, at this central focal point. You really never move, you never go anywhere, nor into any other time, because time and space are constructs in consciousness. From that eternal focal point of now, you just become aware of frames, and the sequencing of those frames is what gives you a notion of moving from point A to point B through time. You observe and collapse waves of potential in a congruent sequence, based on what you believe, therefore expect or know to be true for yourself and the rest of your reality, which is just an extension of yourself. That gives you a sense of logical continuity. To the left of the chart, we have what we call the past, and to the right, what we call the future. 1 MA means 1 minute ago, and so on. 1 hour ago, 1 day ago, 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade, into infinity. The same with the so-called future time. 1 minute in the future, 1 hour in the future, 1 day in the future, 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade, into infinity again. From the focal point of consciousness, you are constantly communicating both with the past and future. And the past you perceive as the real one will connect with the so-called future your lower consciousness believes possible, based on sourcing from that past frame or frames. Does it make sense? To give you a very simple example, if you wake up feeling drowsy, sneezing, and with a sore throat, in your now focal moment, you will scan your probable past for the meaning of those symptoms. You may get to the conclusion or awareness that you are catching a cold or flu. Then you will project into your probable future all expectations that you have regarding that condition, including how long it takes to heal and how you can expect it to feel, usually miserable, right? You are still doing that from the now moment though, but you could source from infinity and completely change the outcome of your experience to an outcome that already exists in infinity, a probable future 1 hour or 1 day from now, in which you are free of any symptoms. This illusory future is sourced from a past potential. In transformation dynamics, we call it breaking the pattern at the quantum level. Breaking the pattern is changing into a different probability, not based on the perceived past, but based on your command. This is the whole secret behind the so-called law of attraction. Just remember that you are not really creating or attracting anything. What you are really doing is to switch frequencies and accessing a probability which is not tied to a past that you remember, but from a new potential past. Yes, to your now focus of consciousness, there is no difference from a past that you have perceived as living and a past that you imagine in the now. Because the only reason you can experience a new imaginary past is because it is a potential probable parallel past that you have lived at some level of consciousness, at some dimension of time and space. Some quantum physicists suggest that space-time are not fundamental, but they emerge from information. And where does this information comes from? From consciousness. You are producing this information, which can be limited or unlimited. Information and communication are the key words here. Just think about it. So, by freeing yourself from the limitations of time, you can certainly control your biology and even erase all your so-called past traumas and karma, which are constructs associated with the construct of time itself. They cannot be separated. And back to our chart. Whenever you see it, the 1 minute ago, 1 week ago, 1 decade ago, and the same with the future, you must also multiply that into infinity, which means 1 minute ago is composed of an infinite number of possibilities that could be experienced 1 minute ago, okay? As well as 1 day ago or 1 year in the future. I guess the most important point to understand here is there is not a fixed past or future. You are living a dynamic dance of consciousness in the now, the only time that truly exists, a dance that responds to your beliefs about the past and expectations about the so-called future. And guess what? Your expectations about the future are based on your beliefs about the past. Cause and effect, action and reaction, what you would call karma, destiny. And this is an amazing secret, folks. An amazing secret. That is how you create so-called karma and past traumas that are constantly reproduced in your illusory future. It is like a loop, like in the movie called The Groundhog Day, for example. For those who have the eyes to see, I just gave you the secret to eliminating karma and past programming. One of the highest levels of realization you can achieve, one that will kick you right into fourth dimensional living, is the now moment does not have to be a result or a product of the so-called past. Again, the now moment does not have to be a result or a product of the so-called past. And that is the meaning of the Bible code that says, "Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." It is always in the now, folks. In the now. You are constantly recreating, or better, choosing both the past and future. You are choosing to source from what is, or the matrix, or you are choosing to source from infinite consciousness, your higher self. All power. Free your mind. You are not a slave of time, of what you have perceived as happening in an illusory past. You always have the power of choice in the now, because time is an illusion. Once you master this secret, you have elevated yourself into fourth dimension and can even experience rejuvenation, ascension, and immortality. How can you age if there is no time? Well, your mind makes time real. That's it. Please watch this video a few more times and decide once and for all what you truly want. If this resonates with you, feel free to visit my official website, www.truemetaphysics.com, to learn more about this amazing, life-transforming experience. In my website, you'll find a link to a free crash course on meta-affirmation that will kickstart you into experiencing your own power. It is a free audio and book download that I have created for the Indigos who wish to go deeper into the rabbit hole. Do you want to be a slave or do you want to be a master? It is your choice. Pay attention to the information you are receiving here, because you have asked for it. Follow your intuition, please. May the force be with you, always in this moment of now. God bless you.